I've been on a hunting trip, and I usually go bear hunting up to northern Minnesota. It's been a few years now, but I was up there, and I was in a tree stand, and I had two cubs that came into an area where I was hunting, and they crawled up the tree, and they came to the bottom of me, and they were both like 70-pound bears. But they were just more or less didn't even know where I was until they were up there and then kind of sensed me there. And I wanted to get him down, so I actually tapped one on top of the nose with an arrow, and he let out this howl. Now, when they usually let out a howl, that's, I'm in trouble to the mom. They backed down the tree. I was probably 20 feet up the tree. They took off. She decided to run in to see what was going on. Okay, so she runs up the tree on me, and she's below the bottom of the tree. Now she reaches up, and she's hanging onto the tree stand with me. So her paws are just pretty much gripping my tree stand. So I've got a loaded 357 on my side, but I'm like, nah, I'm not going to use it. So I just hung my bow up and reached over there and just punched her on top of the nose. And she just started woofing. And what they do when they're scared or agitated, they'll woof like a dog, woof, woof, and then they'll start popping their jaws. And she started popping her jaws, and she kind of got a little bit freaked out and crawled back down the tree and got to the bottom and looked around and then decided, I'm not done with him yet, and came back up the tree again. So it was again, and I hit her again, and she backed down. The week before, they had another archer that was up there, and he actually had a sow bear, the female bear with cubs, pull him out of the tree, grabbed him by the leg, and jerked him 20 feet out of the tree. Then he hit the ground. So he wound up breaking his leg, breaking his pelvis, broken arm, and really all because he didn't want to use a sidearm. I've pretty much hunted and trapped my whole life. Chicago was really founded. Chicago was a trapping village. This is how this whole city started. So, being from the background that I'm at, my father hunted and fished and trapped. My brothers did. My uncles did. So guess what? I did the same thing. But as far as my first job, I can't even remember now. There's just been so many. There's a lot of the same things every day, but everything is different. Every situation is different. As far as do you know what to do? A lot of it has to do with just thinking ahead. It's almost in a way you really almost have to be like it's almost like watching CSI. There's things that you have to do. There's really things that you have to pay attention to. Looking at every angle, every aspect of how this animal could be getting into this person's house. You have to be a detective. Diseases, believe me, I could read you off 100 different diseases you could get doing this. There's a lot of hazards to this business, but you have to take precautions. I had a rusty nail run into my bicep while I was trying to get a really angry mother raccoon off of a very high roof. And once I got her subdued, I stuck my arm back in to get the babies because the babies were really tiny. And when I reached into this place, I had this rusty nail go into my bicep. And right away, your jerk reaction is to rip your arm back. Well, when I pulled it back, it wound up tearing my arm. Buildings that I've been on that weren't structurally sound when I got there. That's one thing you think about. I've been up on roofs that were questionable. And, as you get a little bit older, you get a little bit more respectful for your body. So I pretty much know when I'm not going to go somewhere and what I'm not going to do. It may sound, I don't know, maybe being too macho, but no, I'm very confident in what I do. And I don't just run into something and do it. And if you think about what you're doing and plan what you're doing, not everything can be planned, but if you plan what you're doing, you're not going to be scared, really. I never really tell my wife what goes on. It's better off just not to stress her out about anything. She doesn't really stress about anything anyway, but it's sort of the thing, if you don't need to know, don't do it. I mean, she loves animals. I mean, God, I love animals too, but there's certain things that, I just don't need to talk to her about. But she, for the most part, she's real supportive of everything I've ever done, no matter what it was. And, as far as family and friends, and, even when you go to parties and people are like, you do what? It's not something that comes up every day, so people really think it's cool. And so do I. I love being out, like I said, I love dealing with the animals and I love dealing with the people. I mean, you just meet somebody new every day.